appreciated the old guy. Gone now. We should be able to criticize as we choose, whomever we choose, and yet with a red flag law, if you're a little too outspoken,
And we move now to the next item, which is the adoption. Thank you very much. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing there is none, we'll move to a vote. All those and Mary, it's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Is that our live feed, YouTube, is not working. Maybe if you could get staff to look at that.
Okay, thanks. And we'll get it recorded later
Thank
on
you.
and get it back out. Live feed not working. We'll take a motion whether to act on it or not. I see we have members of the association here. Let me read that. A resolution recognizing the Carolina Cup Racing Association, whereas the Carolina Cup Racing Association has successfully supported and promoted the finest of steeplechasers in North America for 87 years since 1932. And whereas the association has distinguished Kershaw County and the city of Camden as the locus animals in this sport, and whereas the annual races attract lovers of the sport and sustains this county as the recognized national leader of the sport of horse racing, uniquely celebrating an abundant recreational, tourist, and societal life of the horse industry and its advocates. And whereas the Cup and its staff have thereby supported important industries and regional spin-offs in adjacent sports, such as the growth of horse shows at the Equine Park, equestrian supply and support enterprises, and extensive clubs and private owners with fox hunting, rodeos, and trail rides and the like. And whereas, as economic and public support has changed over the years, the association has had to innovate and find new ways to attract support. And the association has rejuvenated its marketing and management, has built and managed a most sought-after venue in the Steeplechase Museum, and shown entrepreneurial skill in new uses for the facilities and their management for trainers and owners. And whereas its management has now found new ways that the course and facilities can be used, and most recently attracted state-level cross-country races with as many as 3,500 runners at a time. Now, therefore, be it resolved, Kershaw County Council commends the leadership and management of the Carolina Cup Race Association and its executive director, Toby Edwards, and its chairman, John Cushman, for vision and skill in promoting the sport of steeplechase, and through which our county and our city are promoted. With that, can we have a motion to approve?
Make the motion that we approve.
Mr. Tucker, a second?
Second.
From Mr. Gardner. Any discussion?
Quick comment.
Yeah. To each and every citizen in this county, when the largest event that we sponsor every year is held there, and finding new ways to use that ground given to us by Marion DuPont Scott and supported over the years by important people throughout, to include most recently the sponsored race this year by Mr. Tom Mulliken, all lends great support to our economy and to our society here. All right, any further discussion? With that, let's move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous. Mary, you got the proclamation over there? And if Toby and John Cushman can come up, we'll take a quick photograph, please. Next item on the agenda, which is a resolution by Kershaw County Council expressing its support of Second Amendment rights. With that, I'll follow the same protocol, read through it, and then we'll take a motion. Whereas the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution states in part that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and whereas the same language is also contained in Article 1, Section 20 of the Constitution of the State, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And whereas the Kershaw County Council feels that the right of citizens to bear arms, as stated in both the United States Constitution and the Constitution of the State of South Carolina, is a fundamental right that should be protected to the greatest degree possible. And whereas the legislative assemblies of several states have begun adopting measures regarding gun control, and it is expected these proposed measures, which would greatly encroach on the constitutional right in the aforementioned states as part of their 2020 legislative sessions. And whereas the Kershaw County Council, by adopting this resolution, wishes to express its strong support for the rights of citizens under the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution and the Constitution of the State of South Carolina, urges the governor and members of the General Assembly to take no action which would violate the freedoms guaranteed in both constitutions. Now, therefore, be it resolved by Kershaw County Council that Kershaw County Council hereby expresses its strong support for the rights of citizens to bear arms pursuant to the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution and of the Constitution of South Carolina, and urges the members of the General Assembly and the governor to take no action which would violate the freedoms guaranteed in both constitutions. I will now entertain a motion to approve this. Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. I so move.
We have a second
Second.
from Mr. Snodgrass. Any discussion? Mr. Jones, you have the
I do.
privilege.
I would like to, very quickly, I'm going to sum it all up. I have introduced this resolution because of events that are taking place in other states across America. In other jurisdictions, legislation has passed or is being proposed that could limit citizens' access or possession of certain firearms, ammunition, or gun accessories. Such legislation has not passed here in South Carolina at this time. I think that's important for us to know. But I want our federal and state elected officials to know that Kershaw County supports the Second Amendment rights of its citizens. In my resolution here tonight, it hasn't got any power. It doesn't affirmatively take action. Rather, it only supports rights already granted by the United States and South Carolina constitutions. This resolution, this is what's important to me, urges the governor and the General Assembly to take no action which would violate the freedoms guaranteed by both constitutions. And I want to thank the individuals that got up and so bravely spoke tonight and even mentioned in their conversation the entire Constitution is important. But this is what we're dealing with here tonight. And I thank each and every one that got up and said, let's focus on this tonight. That's what we need to do. So thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, members of council, that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Bozard.
Mr. Jones, one question. Do we intend to send this on up to the Capitol building, up to Columbia?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Sure.
Is that what you intend to do?
Madam Clerk?
We need to send it on up. We don't need to let it sit here.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Other comments? Mr. Snodgrass?
Sure. I'll say that I do feel like we are blessed that we live in a state in which, personally, I don't feel like we're forced to try to make this resolution. Luckily, we have an environment in the state of South Carolina that is very Second Amendment friendly. Now, we all realize that can change, and so I think that if that wind does begin to shift, that they understand how Kershaw County feels. More importantly, and Mr. Webb brought this up, I think more than the Second Amendment, I fear our freedom of religion tends to be under attack, and so I would encourage us to not just this amendment, but to be aware of all the amendments, of all the freedoms, all the liberties that is afforded to us, that has been bought with the price of those who have served. That we are aware of all those liberties, and not just this one, but that we do live in a country that recognizes that all men, all women are created equal, endowed with inalienable rights by their Creator, and so thankful that we live in this nation.
Other comments? Mr. Connell, please.
Sometimes you have a unique experience whenever you're sitting on council. Not that this is about me or any one of us, but people from different times in your life will just be in the crowd, and it brings up real strong and poignant memories. And that's happened to me tonight. I remember growing up on Highway 5, Mr. Holland and his kids, and he was one of the first individuals that taught me, in addition to my father, about the importance of gun rights and gun safety. And we grew up with guns out there for defense, but as kids it was for recreation and hunting primarily. I see Mr. Craig Hudson at school. As he traveled around, he would teach us about the importance of guns in school. Mentioning school, in high school, I can recall several of my friends who would have that cool gun rack in their truck. How quickly things change, huh? You'd have your shotgun and you go hunting after school, or go out over the weekend, try to make it to the deer stand real early, and then go to school afterwards, and that was totally fine. That was just Kershaw County. And I miss that. I totally support the Second Amendment. A few of the comments tonight by those who signed up to speak, I think, stick out. Mr. Jones' comment about common military usage. I see an FN hat in the crowd. Not that I'm one of their salespeople or anything, but they contract with the government to produce scars and other heavy weaponry. It would be nice if citizens could have access to it and afford them. Also, Mr. Steele. One of the things that sticks out to me is whenever your Second Amendment rights need to be invoked, it's typically because most of the other ones have already been infringed upon. Your freedom of speech, as Mr. Snodgrass mentioned, your freedom of religion, your freedom to associate, the right to not have unreasonable searches and seizures. All of these rights tend to have been violated in some way by someone. And yes, it has to be the government. I understand that. But I want to make sure that we embrace what he said. And if we're going to do this one, we got to start looking for other opportunities, I guess, to support the entire Bill of Rights in the future as it comes up. You know, our rights are under attack all the time. One of the portions of the Bill of Rights I think that gets overlooked is the reservation of rights to the people in the states. Anything that hasn't been particularly spelled out in the Constitution to the federal government is your right, and it's reserved to the states. So while this resolution, admittedly by Mr. Jones, doesn't have any real teeth, it represents, I think, the feeling that the people in this room and those who are watching at home and those in Kershaw County and the state of South Carolina do have teeth, that we have the ability to defend ourselves if we need to. And for that reason, I would support the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Connell. Other comments? Mr. Gardner?
I'm a gun owner. I firmly believe in the Second Amendment, and we've got to protect that at all costs. There's no better example than the church shooting a few weeks ago. Prime example of somebody with a gun that probably saved a lot of lives in that. You think about the laws and regulations, those things. You know, the laws are for honest people. You know, if you follow the laws, that's who they're for, because criminals don't care about the laws. You can follow all the laws you want to. If you're a criminal, you don't care about those. So laws are for honest people. Laws are for, you know, those of us sitting in this room that follow them. And so that's the criminals don't care if there's a gun law that did take our guns. The criminal's not going to give the guns. So it's vitally important that we keep the Second Amendment strong. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Now, seeing there are none, it looks like we can move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And Mary, it's unanimous, and it passes. Thank you. And Mary, you and I can talk about how we get this up to the people that need to see it, all right? Very good. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Jones. We move now to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes. And they're on the board. Thank you. Can we move to have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
Move to approve minutes as submitted.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Second from Mr. Connell. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I will be abstaining due to absence.
That's right. Very good. All right. No discussion. We move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous. And if you'll record Mr. Tucker as abstaining. We move now to the next item, which is a series of ordinances. The first of which is a second reading of an ordinance of the County Council of Kershaw County to amend the official zoning map for a parcel belonging to Mr. Johnny Outlaw. And I see Mr. Outlaw here. Your silver white hair, sir. Good to see you. Mr. Carpenter, can you take us through this, please?
Mr. Chairman, members of council, you have before you tonight for second reading an ordinance to rezone a piece of property of approximately 72 acres from its current zoning of RD2 to GD. It has previously been submitted to council by the Planning Commission on a 5-to-1 vote, and council has passed it on first reading.
Very good, and the map is up on the board showing Antioch. Can we have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I make that motion.
Mr. Snodgrass, second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Bozard. Thank you, Al. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I will say, while the last resolution that we just passed may not have any teeth, the action, the proof is in the pudding. If you've read this zoning request, you know that there's a proposed pistol range going on for this project. So if you were wondering where council thought or where we were on the Second Amendment rights, this passed unanimously last time, and I would imagine it's going to pass again.
Other discussion? Mr. Jones?
Mr. Johnny Outlaw and his lovely wife, Minnie Pearl, thank you so much for what y'all do for the community. I'll say it again, we enjoyed ourselves when we were out there, and I look forward to coming back, and I'm excited about the range. C.R. Miles is as well. Thank you.
Other discussion? I just say it's a well-built facility, Mr. Outlaw. You can really build it, man. Well done. And with that, no further discussion. We move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous. And we'll move on to a third reading at our next meeting. The next item is an ordinance number 2 at tab E, and it's up on the board. Second reading of an amended, restated ordinance determining rules and orders of business. I propose we go through this way. It's Mr. Tucker's is a sponsor. We will have him place it on the floor, and I'm led to believe that he's going to take us through an amendment. So with that, can we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve second reading on our council rules and order of business.
And can we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Gardner. I'll now turn to Mr. Tucker.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Just like to make a point of clarity before I do my amendment. The proposed ordinance that's in your packet and went out to the news media has the underlined parts. That was the changes in the first reading in November. The only thing different in this one, as you recall, is that I spoke about two appendix that were going with that, which was Appendix 1 was the public hearing guidelines, and then Appendix 2, which was the public presentation guidelines. So that should be in your package as well.
Okay.
Just want to make that clear. So
Okay, go ahead and make the motion then,
Yes, sir.
and we'll
So my
have the
motion
discussion.
is that we amend first reading to include Appendix 1, which is the public hearing guidelines, and Appendix 2, which is the public presentation guidelines.
Okay, can we have a second?
Second.
Second. All right, discussion, Mr. Tucker.
Yes, what we had discussed at our last meeting when we read this was that we had the guidelines and our ordinance in two different places. So this puts everything together, so you can have it when you look it up. And let me pull my papers here so you can go through. Get to my amendments here. All right, the rules of the public hearing. It changes the word wishes to speak must identify themselves, the folks who wishes to speak, in line item number 2. And then you have in number 3, an identified. It says when the public hearing is open, the person to be notified as to how many people have signed up and identified in what order. And then in line item number 4, it uses the word identify again. That's the only changes in appendix number 1.
All right. Anything further, Sammy?
No, sir.
All right.
Okay. And then if we move to appendix number 2, which is the public presentation. If you go to line item number 2, it says the public presentation is limited to no more than 3 per meeting. Remember, we had 4 or 5, and we were spending all day trying to get presentations in and delaying the folks from being able to hear what they come here for, which is the public's business. So we can have more, but we have to approve it. We can extend the time with the 20 minutes, but it has to be approved by this body.
Actually, I think it was just 2, and now you're going to 3, so that's good.
So it's going to be 3 and no more than 20 minutes. And if you know that someone's about to go over, or the chairman feels he can stop at that time and see if we, do they need 5 more minutes or 10 more minutes, they can tell us, we can extend it out or not extend it out. It's going to be left up to this body. But what we want to do is be consistent on how we treat everybody who comes before us. It's no up and down. It's straight across the board.
Okay, works. Mr. Jones.
Again, Mr. Tucker, I do, when I saw that, I just want to say I was very pleased because we were at 2, and your request is to raise it to 3, so I think that's really good.
Yes, sir.
Good. Mr. Snodgrass.
Mr. Tucker, questions?
Yes, sir.
When you, public comment, when you talk about identifying yourself, what does, kind of define that? What parameters?
On the public comments?
Yeah, just name, address, or?
No, just your name. We've had people come before us and not want to give their name.
Right.
Which is unbelievable. I've sat here and watched that happen. And, name Jane Doe. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yep.
That can't happen if you want to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm kind of thinking out loud here, which is dangerous. I'm not thinking through this, but, and you see this if you testify before a Senate hearing committee. I'd love for people, I'd love to know, your name and where you're from and actually which one of us represents you. I'm not making them. I guess I'm just thinking out loud. And
I see the smoke.
yeah, you see the smoke. Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
You done?
I'm done. Yes,
Mr. Jones, please, sir.
I'm going to think out loud for a moment. I think what you said about giving the name
Yes, sir.
is all we need. I don't want to be real invasive. The thing about bottom line is it takes a lot for someone to come here at 5:30 with their name on a list, stand up. I don't want them to feel like they're in front of a firing squad.
No.
And I think the way you've got it written up, just their name, I like that a lot. And I think that's probably the way we need to keep it and go with. Thank you.
Other comments? Mr. Bozard?
Yes, I agree with that. One gentleman spoke here tonight was from Richland County, but we don't represent him. So they're free to speak in this body.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one more thing too. Mr. Chairman, if I may finish.
Yeah, please.
What I was going to say too is that, and as far as where they live, what district, I don't care. I represent everybody in this county. And I get more calls sometimes from Bethune, Antioch, Tukey than I do my own district. I don't even know what a district is. I wish I did. My life might be a little bit easier. But anyway, thank you.
Other comments? All right. Well, it looks like we seem to be supporting this. I propose we move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And it passes on second reading with the amendment. And now we move to a vote on the ordinance as amended. Can we move to a motion to do that?
So moved.
Mr. Gardner, and a second from Mr. Tucker. Any discussion? All right, let's move to a vote. All those in favor so signify. And it passes on the second reading as amended. We move now to the next item on the agenda. Let me get you my agenda, which is new business, administrator and evaluation and compensation. For this, we'll need to go into executive session, and I propose we go into executive session with Mr. Carpenter and Mr. DeVos. At first, Ken, we won't need you, but we will need Mr. Carpenter, and then we'll call you in. And then I would say the motion should go, we move to executive session with Mr. Carpenter and Mr. DeVos, and we may come out and vote. Can we have a motion to that effect, please?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Connell, a second.
Second.
From Mr. Tucker, discussion. I would say, and while we have discussion, Mary, you've provided everybody a package? All right, and that is not available to the media, but it can be. Mr. Jones.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and thank you for recognizing me. I was trying to follow us here on this. I would really love to see us move this to the very end of the meeting because we're going to go into executive session. Let's finish everything else so that the people won't have to sit out here and wait. And I just think it'd be more convenient for them.
Yeah, I think it is the end of the last meeting, agenda item. Council briefings follow.
Well, we got council briefings, administrative briefing, legal briefing.
Yeah, that normally, this
Okay.
is the way, yeah.
Thank you so
Is that
much.
all right?
You're
Okay.
correct.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, let's move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And we will move to executive session, and we may come back out and vote. Thank you very much.
No, we don't. We won't have enough.
out of executive session.
Can we have a motion that we come out of executive session?
Move to come out of executive.
Mr. Gardner, so moved.
Second that, Mr.
Second
Chairman.
from Mr. Snodgrass. Any discussion? With that, we move back into our second reading, administrative evaluation and compensation.
Take the vote.
Oh, you got to take a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand.
For what?
Coming out of executive session.
He said for what?
Okay, it's unanimous in one way or another. Thank you. So we're back in session. The item on the agenda when we departed was administrator's evaluation and compensation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Connell.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we increase the administrator's compensation base salary by 2%. My rough calculation is $3,177.50, with all remaining material terms in the contract being the same for the 2020 calendar year.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
From Mr. Tucker. Discussion. Seeing there is none, we move now to a vote. All those in favor so signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous. And we have raised the pay by 2% over the calendar year. With that, we move to the next item on the agenda, which is council briefings, beginning with Mr. Connell, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a few things. First one, the toughest one, Gene Falconberry. I'm just sad that I didn't get to know him for a longer period of time. And you often say you stand on the shoulder of giants. Having very limited knowledge about fire service and EMS, as Keith and Scott can attest to, Gene has done a great service to Kershaw County in shepherding us to a full-time fire service. The legacy of increased safety will be perpetual in Kershaw County because of that move. And I'm so thankful to him for that. And my heart goes out to his family and all those that loved and cared about him. Obviously, very concerned for the folks who've been impacted by the tornado at North Central High School, but I've been very impressed and pleased with the response from all the partners in the community who are making it happen for the kids so that they can move forward with their schooling. I wanted to mention great thanks for Mayor Emmons and Chief Brown and Kim Stokes, who headed up the Toy Roundup event and fundraiser. They raised thousands of dollars for families in need in Kershaw County, and it's just a touching thing to have witnessed and know that they put that much effort into it each year. I wanted to update the council that the dog park, or the proposed dog park that is intended to be donated to the county, has been cleared right near Watery Dental on Highway 1. It's over 3 acres. They plan on having an agility section, a large dog section, and a small dog section. And you can probably expect some fencing and some other things going up out there pretty soon. Maybe summertime it might be ready. So you'll be hearing more about that. August 8th is a possible date for a land jam concert that the county's been working on with some private entities and a promoter locally. It'd be a country music festival out at the Watery River parcel. They're entertaining the idea of a rodeo out there as well. And the promoter felt like it was just an ideal location for that to happen. And a lot of sponsors have been lining up and interested in making that event happen. So more to come on that. And then lastly, I wanted to mention that the Rotary Wild Game Dinner will be February 8th at City Arena. Each year, West Watery Rotary, and now they've teamed up with Camden Rotary, give over $30,000 in scholarships. It is strong for local high school students. And I'll be cooking all the wild pork, so if you want to steer away from that, that's fine. I won't be offended, but we'll be out there overnight cooking probably 28 to 30 butts and shoulders that have been donated locally from hogs that primarily come from Kershaw County, a lot of them along the Watery River. And they'll have all kinds of other wild game fare for you to enjoy. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the County Council. I'm going to start and end with just one thing tonight. And I had quite a few. I had written them down here that I was going to discuss. Gene Falconberry was a friend, just as Keith is my friend. We worked together as fellow employees. I was here when Gene walked in the first day he came to work as I was a county employee as well. I was here when Keith walked in the first day of a county employee, and Keith and Gene were there for me when I retired. Sat in office. I don't know if you remember, Keith. We sat in office, and he's going to be missed. I am concerned. I think about Christy a lot. I think about you, Keith, a lot. Y'all were together for, what, how many years? 20 years. And just know that our hearts and prayers are with y'all and with his family as well. And God bless each and every one of you. And I love you guys. I know we have bumps in the road. I know sometimes y'all may not understand my way of thinking or thoughts. But y'all get me a whole lot better than they do. But bottom line is, thank y'all for what y'all do. Thank y'all so much. And I'm going to stop, or I'm going to be there with you, Keith. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Snodgrass.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, I did want to begin my remarks by also recognizing Gene Falconberry. I knew him the least amount of time up here because I've only been here on council 1 year, but I did want to take time just to say after I was first elected, Gene was one of the first people I was introduced to when the county administrator gave me a tour of the building, and my first thought was, wow, if every county director is as knowledgeable about their department as this man is, this county is ran by some exceptional people, and so that always impressed me about him, and was thankful that we had him to get us through the fire service switch that we did this past May. He and of course the rest of the fire leadership. So a lot of organizational memory, I believe. We lost there. A lot of things that are probably not written down or not in a policy book, but we could always pick up the phone and hey, Gene, what do you think about this? So I think about those types of things. So just hats off to his life and praying for his family. And I want to also just kind of tip my hat to the solid waste department. Anytime you go through a holiday season, that's really a busy time for them. I think it's very ironic that when we're at a season where we're getting rid of our stuff, they're at a season where they're receiving all of our stuff that we don't want any longer. And so on a day that is recognized by the Canadians as Boxing Day, I found myself loading up the cardboard box dispenser there at the airport location. And from my view, at my location, they were ready and they were prepared. New businesses that are coming into our District 5, Get Well Pharmacy, which is now going to be located in the old Fred's building in East Camden. So I want to highlight them, and they'll be up and running very, very soon. I want to recognize a citizen of District 5 just today. Mr. Gene Parnell was named the Texas Roadhouse Hero of the Month. And in fact, that's Gary's father. That's Gary's right. One of our new fire service guys. And so that's just his father. And so I just want to, anytime I hear about those type of things, of citizens being recognized in District 5, I just want to take time to highlight that as well. I want to highlight the guys in the back row, first responders, fire service, EMS, this past Saturday night through Sunday morning, even now, how you guys responded to the tornado landing there at North Central High School. Thank you guys so much for doing that and being there. I mean, obviously you're doing your job, and I was thankful for you. I know some of you were there for up 12, 20, maybe almost 24 hours there on scene. So thank you for doing that, and obviously my prayers continue to go with our North Central family in that part of the county. Lastly, guys, I want to thank you for a great first year. Just completed my first year on council, and so thank you for being patient with me when maybe I asked a question that may have been a dumb question, or calling every one of you guys. I call on the phone and say, hey, how do we do this, or what do you think about this? And so thank you thank you so much for a great first year. And it's been an honor to serve with you, and I'm looking forward to continue to serve with you. We've just in this last year, we've made some really neat strides. Thank you to our executive staff, Miss Mary, Danny, and Vic. Thank you guys for kind of holding my hand sometimes through this first year. So that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to dovetail a little bit on what Councilman Snodgrass was saying is I want to, the Falconberry family and all that's related and friends to him, just express my condolence and my heartfelt love for the family and the loss of this community. With that being said, as I was up there Sunday morning with all of you walking around and trying to figure out what all took place up there in that devastation, I could only keep hearing the words that Gene will be proud. And I ditto that because you guys did one heck of a job. Guys, when I say that, I'm talking about the ladies as well. So I commend you and thank you. One Kershaw. Makes this place so special. Appreciate the media coming out. I mean, they didn't have to come out on a Sunday. Most people were in church or doing Riverside Baptist, or Bedside Baptist, whichever one they attend. Yeah, but they made their way out there, and we took a terrible situation and made the best and continue to make the best. But continue to pray for the school district, the children, the teachers, and the principals, and the community out there in Cassett and Bethune and Westville and Barron DeKalb, all that's affected. Be here, and I'm going to speak for all of us, is here to do whatever we need to do and what we can do to help better that situation as we continue to build back in the North Central area. With that, I want to say thank you to you, Vic, for the job you've done over 2019. I know we're not always easy to some of us up here to deal with, but I think you always manage how to deal with us, and I appreciate you and the job you've done for the citizens of Kershaw County throughout the years. It seems like you've been here 9 years, almost a decade. But I thank you personally, and I say thank you collectively for this body. Want to make sure that you all know that you're invited this coming Monday. So if you want to hear some good singing and get your praise on, yes, please come to the ML Day celebration, which is January the 20th, Monday at 5:30. It's in walking distance from here at the Camden First United Methodist Church. And I appreciate the media getting the word out and announcing that day. And it's a special day that we all can come together and we'll have different opinions of things in life. But one thing we do know, and I think that we all believe in, that we'll always fight for the human rights, equality, and justice. And I don't think that's ever questioned when it comes down to the people that's in this room. It's just sometimes others are misunderstood or don't get it right. So we invite you with open arms, and we just want to love on you and get your spirits up so you can go out and do even better work than what you're doing. And I just want to tell everyone in the room that I haven't told a Happy New Year. That concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gardner.
Very quickly, Mr. Snodgrass, your probation time is up, so don't expect that level of kindness from us anymore. So, just to keep North Central in your prayers. They go back to school tomorrow, and they're going to have some situations that you think about the extracurricular, like the basketball team's going to be playing all their games away. They got to find a place to practice. The wrestling team and the other extracurricular. It's going to be really tough. They don't have a cafeteria. They don't have a gym. It's going to be really tough on them for a little while. And, but it's so great to see the collaborative effort and the cooperation between, the community there and the community of Kershaw County, because that's what we are. And all of our folks, like Sammy mentioned and David mentioned with our EMS and all the firefighters and first responders, it's, county staff, school district, people from across the state. It's amazing that you see now that our sister schools are collecting school supplies for them and things like that. That's what makes Kershaw so great, Kershaw County so great. So, but keep them in your prayers because it's hard times are still ahead. So,
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'll close it out before we go. Oh, yeah, I did it again for Mr. Bozard. Go ahead.
You do it to me every time.
Every time.
I want to thank this council for the way they conducted business tonight. I do appreciate that. And Vic, I want to thank you for this past year and the way you've handled this county, and I deeply appreciate it. Stepping up when we've lost people, stepping up when you needed to. Now, can you tell me where we stand with the water slide project?
Water slide.
Are my comments in place, sir?
Oh, you got it? Okay, I'm sorry. I'll wait. I'll wait.
All right. Do I have permission to proceed?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you
Go
very much.
right ahead.
Yeah, I'll echo what everyone else said about the spirit of the county. And I remember some words from Martin Kahn in his editorial, but how he kept hearing, how can we help? And then he kept hearing, we are here for you. And there they are on the back row back there. That's Gene Falconberry back there. That's his spirit lives on in us, and we'll carry forward. I would point out that even in the school district, Billy Smith left his hospital bed to come out and be there. And those of you know Billy well, there's a serious situation there in his health, but he was there because we are Kershaw County. Some administrative things. First of all, we return to 2 meetings a month. The next meeting is the 28th. Secondly, Mr. Carpenter is going to take us through not just the 2 meetings a month, but through the work sessions that now go in towards our budget. And that begins now. And with surveys, with each of you submitting your priorities for goals and objectives, and a few other things of that nature, the process takes over. I want to congratulate our mayor here for her reelection. I haven't seen you since then officially, but also my counterpart in the school board and all the school board reelections nominated, put back into office the chair, the vice chair, the chaplain, the CFO, the CTO. They were all voted in today at 10 o'clock. Lastly, congratulations to you, Mr. Carpenter. A great year, and I hope for an even better year in 2020. With that, the council briefings are done, and we turn it over to Mr. Carpenter. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, Mr. Bozard, the splash pad is, of course, that's a city project the county is participating in. County staff has been meeting with city staff and the contractors. They're, right now we're working on getting the site cleared in order to ensure that we have the suitable pad for building. The contractor is under a guidance of having it open by Memorial Day. So the project continues, and we move forward with it.
Who's the contractor?
I'll get that for you, sir. I didn't have that with me tonight. It was a bid let by the city, so the city is in charge of all those details. But I'll get you those details, sir. Members of council, I want to. I'm really sorry that this is one of those cases where our citizens aren't all here, but I hope they're watching tonight because I want to recognize. You see behind me tonight, men and women. And they are the heart of this county. In ways, they're the ones that are making this county a great place. You know, and I want to first point out to your attention, Brandon Price, his name was mentioned. Brandon was the first on scene at the school I came upon. He responding to an alarm, not knowing what he was going to find because, as we already know, the tornado didn't hit anywhere else. So no one knew that a tornado had hit there until Brandon got there. Brandon, if you would please stand up so council can recognize you. Also has been mentioned tonight, Mr. Falconberry, you know, his crowning achievement, he was so proud of us moving to a 24/7 full-time fire service. I won't say professional because they've always been professional, but so many of our volunteers drew a paycheck somewhere else. And they wanted to be here if they could, and that was one of his passions and dreams, he and Keith. And we moved to it this past year. But if you were out there on Sunday, into Monday, you would have seen two of our newest men, Stephen Teal and Gary Parnell. They were there as battalion commanders, providing leadership and guidance to the men and women that were there from fire service. And the fire service is critical because if you had a building whose condition nobody really knew, in order to access any part of that building, they had to have somebody with them who was capable and competent enough to save them if they needed saving. And so those firemen, our county employees and our volunteers, were out there with their full gear on, and their job was to protect the citizens, to protect the education employees who are out there. Steve and Gary, if you'd stand up, please. Beside them, Scott Wiles, of course. Scott has been thrown into a lot of things. Not the least, of course, is trying to pick up slack as well with Gene's passing. Scott was there on site. He quickly took command as incident commander, and one of the reasons why we didn't have issues is because of just how well trained the organization is, and Scott exemplified that. And I heard one of y'all mention about being out there 24 hours. Scott, how many hours were you there before you went to bed?
18 hours.
18 straight hours after a full day. Scott, please stand up, Scott.
Thank you.
Our EMS, Gerald is here. Of course, Gerald needs no introduction, but the cool competence with which our EMS responded. Again, if someone got hurt, and we didn't know, they didn't know if a wall was going to collapse, a roof was going to come in, an air conditioning unit was going to fall through, and those guys were there. And again, Gerald was so quickly on the scene very early on, and putting information out, a role that Gene would have played in many cases. Gerald took on and shared information and made sure that we knew what was going on. So Gerald, if you'd please stand up for me.
Thank you, Jerry.
Moving on, I'd like to share with you a different thing the county's doing that's exciting, and it showcases just what we're doing. You'll see coming up on a second our new FAST team. And let me tell you about the FAST team. The FAST team is a quick response that we have put together to very rapidly, within 24 hours, solve problems that are called into our county public works. Potholes, signs that are down, things that we can respond to, things that our citizens see, and if we don't respond to them and fix them, it's very clear to them, very evident that it's still there. They drive by them every day. We have utilized existing equipment and existing staff, and we've repurposed it. So the cost to the citizens is very minimal, almost non-existent. But it allows us to, within, again, 24 hours, solve these problems. And behind me, I've got Artie Allen. And Artie, you see in the picture there, Artie is our leader, our team leader on that. And they're averaging, their goal is to have between 60 and 100 a week of responses taken care of. So as they're called in, and we're not talking one road is 7 different responses. They're talking 7 different issues that they would fix as one issue, and 60 to 100. Artie, if you'd stand up so council can recognize you, please. I hope, members of council, you see these men and women and you're excited about where we are as a county and the kind of people you have working for you and the citizens. We've got great things, and it's because of them. It's because of the training, the leadership that people like Gene provided to them. And I'm just proud to represent them to you. That's my report. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Mr. DeBose.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to say except Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Mr. DeVos.
Thank you very much. With that concludes the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Second from Mr. Gardner. Any discussion? Seeing there is none, let's move to a vote. All those in favor, so signify. And it's unanimous, Mary, and we are adjourned for the first meeting of the year.
Thank you.